Basically, what we do is we try to bridge the gap between the consumer and the marketing entities and the telcos that are out there in the market. Usually you see a lot of telecom companies which are competing in the voice and the communication aspect of the business, which is basically trying to reduce prices for voice as well as SMS technologies. When they acquire all of these customers, it is also important to encourage these customers to spend more through their cell phones and to drive revenue and growth. Pakistan has seen its saturation. There's a 105 million mobile population in Pakistan in a market of 160 million. The growth rate has actually dwindled down to about 4% or so per annum. So it is important that when you've acquired such a large consumer base, it is to encourage them to use more and more the mobile technology that they have in their hands. This is where companies like us come in. Everything that the cell phone, the mobile telco's core business is, which is voice and SMS communication, everything beyond that is done by companies such as ours. Everything which is as simple as downloading a ringtone on your cell phone, to downloading a Java game on your cell phone, to something as complex as stock trading through your cell phone, or to do mobile payments. These are the vast array of technologies and services that companies like ours provide. We currently, at this moment, we have about 50 or so mobile marketing campaigns and clients services that we are doing in Pakistan. As far as telco business is concerned, we have over 4 dozen platforms that we manage directly or indirectly on a constant basis. In terms of copyrighted content that we distribute in the market, in terms of ringtones and songs and all these other selections, we are also the market leader. We have the largest library of copyrighted music content in Pakistan, and we have been distributing these services for a number of years in Pakistan. Actually, we had to change our strategy a lot from what it was in Malaysia, because it was easier to duplicate simply what Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore and all 7 other subsidiaries were doing internationally, which is basically what we do out there is B2C business. What we do is acquire short codes across all of the telcos and then advertise directly to the customer, either through print or through SMS, and encourage them to download particular content, whether it's a wallpaper, it's a Java game or a song, etc. In Pakistan, when we came down here in 2004, 2 of the major telcos were not even present. Warid and Telenor were not there. As a matter of fact, back then Paktel was not even GSM. So the market was actually not ready to accept B2C business anyways, because unified shortcodes, which is the same shortcodes across all the telcos, were not even available at that time. It was difficult for us to launch that part of our business. So basically we had to maneuver, or had to change our strategy and basically do B2B business. Having said that, what we were doing basically was powering content on the telecoms platforms. To answer one of your questions as to how the market has actually changed, it's very important, because B2C was very, very difficult in Pakistan because of the low literacy rate and the amount of handsets that were out there in the consumers' hands. This was the problem, because if you advertise something to encourage users to download something, if they can't even read it, that's a problem. Because this is a product, ringtones are usually downloaded by, or full song downloads are done by youth, and the youth does not really read a lot of publications that happen in Pakistan. I mean, one of the, I think the most successful printed English daily that we have has about a circulation about 1 million or so. In a market of 105 million, that's just not enough. So this was one of the initial challenges that we had, which is why we had to refer to the B2B model. Another thing that we saw is that the consumers in Pakistan, even though if let's just say a lot of them did not have literacy, they would have numeric literacy. So it was easier, or it was actually far more successful for us to launch IVR services. For example, the consumer would know that to access this service, dial 1, to access another service, dial 2. It was easier for them to actually do that, and rather than reply to this message with a long string of words. This worked out for us. So internationally we were doing really, really well on SMS. Locally we started to do extremely well on IVR. So that's something that we had to, a change that we definitely had to adapt to. Basically what we were doing was let's just say a marketing organization wants to launch a campaign which lasts for 45 days or so, and they want to interact with the consumer on that. So guess the flavor of the new product that we are coming up with, etc. Now for us to actually conduct this exercise, we need to go to all of the telcos and initiate a short code that belongs to that particular brand, and then that brand uses that short code and then advertises it to the consumer, and then receives all the responses, and then conducts the entire marketing exercise emphasize onto it. Now, as you can imagine, this takes a lot of time. You go to the telcos, you initiate a dialogue, you negotiate rates, etc., have a brand new shortcode initiated. This was getting more and more difficult, especially if it was something which is very short term. So what we did was launch a shared shortcode, which is, let's just say, 1313. So let's just say an organization does not want a dedicated shortcode. They would rather just conduct this activity, which is, let's just say, a week long, 2 weeks long, and then be done and over with. So they can very quickly just hop onto the 1313 platform, launch the campaign, and everybody wins, because the telcos get, a rush of traffic on their 1313 shortcode, which means more revenue, and it all works out for us. So a lot of media companies, a lot of radio channels, they approached us as well. We approached them too, and they wanted to have constant consumer interaction with their services. So which is why the 1313 platform actually turned out to be very successful for them. And it is also successful because if, let's just say, one brand or one media company is advertising it constantly, then the other one also benefits, because at the end of the day, people are so comfortable to know about this particular service. They're like, okay, everyone is using it, so I can interact with that particular brand. Previously, there was some kind of a barrier. People did not really trust these kind of services, but it happened, and it's been really successful for us. Actually, the very first shortcode, unified shortcode campaign that we did was for Pepsi. It was Pakistan's first unified shortcode campaign that Akin Messaging Technologies / M3 Technologies did. Pepsi supported it with heavy advertising as well. It was called Code Batao Cash Banao campaign. So under the cap of your Pepsi, you had a short code that you sent to a code, and then enter to win lots and lots of prizes. I think the grand prize was 1 crore rupees, and there was like a lakh rupees daily. So the impetus was there for the consumer to actually send and respond. So that's something which has been quite successful for us. So I think some of the lessons that we learned from Pakistan that really ended up surprising us was, well, the first thing that we, for example, the Pepsi campaign, what happened over there was a lot of people would just respond or send the code to the short code, is because we were giving away free ringtones with each entry. So the masses, which is people who don't really read and write but had numeric literacy, so they would know, okay, this code has to be sent to this number. They were able to do that, because if it was a string of long letters or words, it would have been a little more difficult. But so we saw a lot of people sending multiple messages per day because they were getting random ringtones for their responses. So this is something which we saw that, okay, the masses do need entertainment content. That was our litmus test, and they would respond if there is an ease of transaction. If the service is designed with numeric literacy in mind, that would definitely work out for us. So that's one thing that then we adopted to the rest of our services as well, and been very successful. The other thing that we have basically learned from this entire affair is that mobile marketing companies, there is no other channel as responsive as this to gather data. For example, in terms of, let's just say, Pepsi, you could actually, if you conduct this campaign, you can tell that a Mobilink drinker in Sialkot consumed Mirinda at 9 p.m. on this date. So it was actually, you could go down to the SKU level and track sales and responses as well. As a matter of fact, if you look at the holistic data, you would tell exactly which telcos consumers are more prone to value-added services activity. So you could do a lot of analysis. You can then, as a telco, also look at that data and see, okay, where do I stand right now, and how can I improve myself to push my consumers to do value-added services more. So it really helped the value-added services sector a lot. And then we have seen a lot of growth into it, because if you look at a lot of mobile communication, a lot of advertising communication that's out there, there is some mobile shortcode element to it to this date, because the gathering of data is quite intensive. As a matter of fact, if this NIC card registration to each SIM is actually done and let's just say made public, or can be used by marketers to some extent, you can actually track the age and the gender of the consumer who has actually interacted with your SKU or with your brand. So this helps a lot in that area.